Really quick, something that I forgot to say yesterday when I was recording the beginning of this, they did drop the first trailer for Sailor Moon Crystal, the remaking of the story, staying closer to the manga. I was really excited about that, so I will put a link right here and in the description so you can click on the moonstick, click down below to take a look at that, but here we go. Hey everybody, Randy Atkins here, and I'm finally getting to episodes 5 through 8 of my Sailor Moon recap / review series. I am going to try to keep this much shorter than the last set of episodes because that video was 23 minutes long, which is a little bit too long. Episode 5, the first one I'm doing here, will probably be a bit longer than the others just because it is one of the 2 episodes that was never dubbed and therefore wasn't ever aired in the US. So I'm probably going to go a little bit more into detail with it. But here we go. This episode starts with Usagi having a nightmare, which then turns into a better dream when she is saved by Tuxedo Kamen, or Tuxedo Mask. Then she is awakened by her brother Shingo basically screaming from his bedroom. She runs in to find out what's happening and discovers that Luna has accidentally fallen asleep on his bed rather than on her bed. And this is when we find out that Shingo is afraid of cats because of an incident that happened when he was very young. And that causes Usagi and Shingo to argue with each other, trying to convince their parents whether or not Usagi should be able to keep Luna as a pet. Later on in the day after school, Shingo encounters Luna again and is a little freaked out, so a classmate of his asks if he's afraid of cats, which he has no choice but to answer affirmatively after what just happened. And so she says that she knows of a pet that would be perfect for him. And this is when we find out about Chanella. So she takes him to the pet store where they sell Chanella, and basically what it looks somewhat like a rabbit with really long hair. So they go to the pet store, and this is when we learn a little bit more about Chanella. They smell like perfume. Each one has its own distinct scent. And Shingo looks at one, and as he locks eyes with it, he is basically hypnotized because, surprise, surprise, this whole Chanella situation is Jadeite's current plan to collect energy for his master. So the next day, when it's time to go to school, Shingo has not come out of his room, and at this point Usagi knows that there's something a little bit off about this whole Chanella thing. But then she goes to school, and a lot of the kids there have brought their Chanella to school, and she warns them when Haruna Sensei is coming in, so they all put them away. But then after a little bit of time, they just can't take it anymore and have to take them out. Well, Haruna Sensei is not about that. And so she basically says that they have to put them away or she's going to confiscate them. Well, that is not being had. So the girl whose Chanella she tried to take basically gives her a shove and decides that she's going to just leave and go home so that she can be with her Chanella. And all of the other people who had brought them into school do the same thing. So they all walk out. So because all of this happening, Usagi and Luna figure that there's got to be something else up. So they go to investigate the pet store. And who does she see outside but the dark-haired stranger that we have seen several times lurking around the various places that Jadeite has been putting his plans into action. So Usagi goes into the pet store to investigate and makes the mistake of locking eyes with a Chanella, even though Luna tells her not to, and is being controlled then. So then Luna basically jumps at her, takes the Chanella and takes it away from her, and that snaps her out of it. So because of all this happening, Usagi is really worried about Shingo. So they run home and try to take the Chanella away from him, but again, he's not having it. So he runs away. At this point, Luna says it's probably going to be a good idea for her to transform, so she does her thing, transforms into Sailor Moon, and they go back down to the pet store. Then, of course, the owner of the pet store reveals herself as the Yoma for this week, and commands the mind-controlled kids to attack Sailor Moon. Luna tells her to use Moon Tiara action, but she doesn't want to do that because she doesn't want to risk hurting Shingo. So Luna tells her to say Moon Tiara Stardust instead. And this is an attack this is the only time it's ever used. I don't believe it was ever in the manga even. I don't know if this story was even in the manga. It's been a long time since I've read the manga. I do have all of it though. So she uses Moon Tiara Stardust, which basically snaps all of the kids out of the control of the Shanella and also kind of freezes them in their tracks. Then she is free to destroy the Yoma, and that fully frees the kids. And then Shingo spots her, but thinks that it's Sailor V at first. Then when she explains that she is not Sailor V, but Sailor Moon, he says that that's fine, he still wants her autograph. So because of everything that happened at the beginning, Usagi uses this opportunity as Sailor Moon to tell Shingo that he needs to be nice to Luna. And that is basically what solves the whole issue of Luna living with Usagi and Shingo and her family, is because she tells Shingo as Sailor Moon basically to do it. So that is episode 5. I actually am recording these one at a time for this one. Last time I watched all 4 of them and then recorded everything. I'm recording these one at a time as I finish each episode, so don't be surprised if my clothes change, because I probably am not going to get to all of them tonight. It's about 20 till 12. So again, episode 5, episode 6 is coming up. Okay, so this part is actually filmed a few hours later because my battery died and I had to wait for it to charge. So I apologize if the angle's a little different, lighting's a little bit different. I kind of had to reset everything back up, but here we go. So episode 6 is called Protect the Melody of Love, Usagi Plays Cupid. So right at the beginning of this episode, we see Jadeite reveal his plans to collect energy for the episode, which in this case is through music. So we meet Amada Yusuke, who is in love with his music producer Akiko, and there's a lot of exposition over this. And at the beginning, he's a famous music artist. Naru and Usagi are listening to a CD of his. So Yusuke is confronted by the Yoma, who is trying to get the cassette back. Yes, cassette. Cassette tape. Which has the music on it that is going to absorb people's energy when they listen to it, because it was given to him by mistake by Akiko. So the Yoma is chasing him, and as he's running from it, he literally runs into Usagi, knocks her over. She yells at him for doing it, and he basically begs her not to kill him. And so she kind of takes pity on him because obviously he's been through some stuff. And so they start talking, and Usagi talks it through with him. He tells the whole story about the monster, calms him down. Then he gives her his card so that he can pay for the cleaning for her clothes, and they part ways. But Luna and Usagi understand that the Yoma chasing him is probably something they should follow up on. So they actually follow him to the club he's playing at. Usagi uses a disguise pen to be able to get in. Then she listens to his set, and afterwards basically intervenes when the Yoma is attacking him. The two chase the Yoma down in his car because he still thinks that the cassette tape that the Yoma has stolen from him is his demo tape, which is a song he has written for Akiko, who he is madly in love with. So once they catch up with it, Luna actually gets a hold of the tape and destroys it. Usagi is able to transform into Sailor Moon, Moon Tiara action, and the day is saved yet again. And for the happy ending to the story, there is also, a little exposition line at the end here where Naru mentions that Yusuke has gotten married. So everything worked out in the end for him. So episode 7 is called Usagi Learns Her Lesson, Becoming a Star is Hard Work. At the beginning of this episode, we see everyone at Usagi's school kind of gushing about a girl who used to go to school with them, who is now what would probably be referred to as an idol, basically just a person who is generally famous for whatever reason, and how they are really, all wanting to be in that position where they make a whole bunch of money, basically just for existing. And Jadeite sees a bunch of kids gathered around this girl, clamoring for her autograph and things like that. And he, of course, sees an opportunity to gather up all of this energy. So because of all of the talk about this girl, whose name is Mikan, Usagi and Naru decide that they are going to try to become stars themselves. So they start practicing singing, and they actually are singing the opening theme to the show, Moonlight Densetsu. But they end up having a fight and kind of going their separate ways. And so because of that, Naru decides that she is going to team up with Umino and dresses him up as a girl to do it. And so Usagi, after watching an animal act on a TV variety show with her parents, gets the idea that she could do something similar to that using Luna. So that is the act that she has decided she's going to become famous with. And then we see Mikan at her apartment being captured and copied by the Yoma for this episode, who appears to be made of glass. And so posing as Mikan sets up this sort of talent competition in order to find the next idol. And so at the preliminary competition for the talent contest, it seems like everybody who was there made it through, which should be a little suspicious, but that's what happened. So the finals are going to be the following week at a theater. Fast forward to the next week at the theater, and basically that's when everything goes down. The Yoma uses sort of a mind control mirror ball to make all of the contestants think that the audience is full of people, when in fact there's nobody there. And they all kind of start doing their performances at the same time. So it's just kind of chaos. But anyway, that's the point where she starts stealing their energy, using the stamps that she gave them to show that they were going through the second round. Usagi came to support Naru, and she, of course, realizes what's happening. Luna has her transform, and she confronts the Yoma. The Yoma actually gets the jump on her and encases her completely in glass, at which point Tuxedo Kamen comes in and saves the day by breaking the glass with a rose. At which point Sailor Moon is free to use Moon Tiara action and destroy the Yoma and save the day once again. Alright, so episode 8 is called Is the Girl Genius a Demon? The Brainwashing Cram School of Horror. And right at the beginning of this episode, we see Jadeite and Queen Beryl talking about the lengths that parents will go to make sure that their children get a good education. And through this discussion, we find that this is going to be Jadeite's plan for this episode to collect energy. Then we see Usagi's mother asking her about a practice test that she's taken. And at this point, her mother is just asking that she not fail. That's pretty much the level that her expectations are set at. So then we also see Usagi studying and Luna's talking to her, and then Luna catches her reading manga instead of studying like she's supposed to be. And then we have a scene where Luna sneaks into the Crown Game Center after it's closed and goes up to one of the Sailor V video games and basically logs into it. And then there's a voice on the other side. She's basically using it as a communicator. And the voice is asking her about her progress in finding the princess, which her report is basically that there hasn't really been much progress. But Luna tells the voice about a girl that she has felt some strange energy coming from. And then the voice tells Luna that it is a possibility that this girl is a Yoma that is being sent to attack them and to be on her guard. Then, since we've already seen that it is sort of exam time, the whole school's talking about the person who has the highest marks in the whole school, and it's also remarked that she has the highest marks in the whole country, and that is Mizuno Ami. And then Umino comes in, of course, with his inside information that he always seems to have, that she attends Crystal Seminar, which is apparently a really exclusive juku, which is usually translated as cram school. Basically, it's extracurricular studying. It's like a special, almost like tutoring, but it's not one-on-one at all. It's actually like going to another school. But the Crystal Seminar is a juku that apparently is really expensive, and even though Ami's mother is a doctor, she actually got a scholarship to go to the Crystal Seminar. And then we actually see her up close for the first time and see that this is actually the girl that Luna was talking about to the voice in the Sailor V game. On the way home, Usagi passes a cross street and looks down and sees Ami walking, and she looks just in time to see Luna pounce onto her shoulder. So then she goes up and starts talking to her, makes some small talk, introduces herself. Then Usagi takes her to the Crown Game Center, since apparently it's on their way, has her play some video games, which she has never done before, and it appears that she's a natural because she breaks the all-time high score record. Then she notices what time it is and has to run because she has to get to her juku. But as she's actually squeezing through the crowd that has formed around to watch her play, she drops a disc that is labeled that it is for the Crystal Seminar. So then we see Ami in class at juku, and the teacher tells her to make sure to use the crystal disc because it will help in her studying. Then we see Usagi outside because she has brought the disc that Ami had dropped, and she's reading the sign outside that says anyone who uses the crystal disc can become a genius. As she's doing that, the dark-haired stranger that we keep seeing happens by and makes a comment about her finally deciding to study, and of course she gets mad because this is what happens and runs off. Since she actually forgot to take the disc up, Luna wants to take it to a computer and kind of check it out, and she discovers that the disc is actually used for mind control, and so this convinces Luna that the girl actually is a Yoma who is out to steal energy. So they go back to the Crystal Seminar, and Usagi uses the disguise pen to sneak into Juku and confronts Ami, and then she transforms into Sailor Moon. And this is the first time that it uses the main, I guess, stock transformation for Moon Prism power, which is where her hand shoots up and the magic nail polish goes on. This is pretty much the one that's used the whole rest of this season until she gets a different Henshin brooch. But this is the first time that we actually see that. So just as she finishes transforming, the teacher attacks Ami, and we find that she's actually the real Yoma. So then, as the Yoma is basically holding Ami hostage, she attacks Sailor Moon by quizzing her. Luna gives her the answer to the first question, which is the reason why apples fall is because the Earth has gravity. Then she tells her to define gravity, and since she's not able to do that, she has the students, who are mind controlled of course, attack Sailor Moon. As this is happening, the Yoma then says that she is going to absorb all of Ami's mental energy because she is a true genius. And so she pushes her head down to the computer because that's how she's doing it, is with that disc. But it doesn't work. And the Yoma thinks that it's simply because she hasn't been using the crystal disc. But then as she tries again, there is a glowing sigil that appears on her forehead, and it is a slightly stylized version of the sigil for the planet Mercury. So Luna sees this and realizes why she felt strange energy coming from her. It's because she's also one of the Sailor Senshi and a fellow guardian that is going to work with Sailor Moon to find and protect the princess. So Luna does her magic backflip and brings out Sailor Mercury's Henshin pen, gives it to her, and tells her to shout "Mercury Power Make Up," which she does, and we are finally met with Sailor Mercury, the second Senshi that we have met so far. Luna tells her to use Chevron Spray, which is her attack that usually creates fog as to distract and confuse the Yoma, which then gives Sailor Moon her opening that she needs to use Moon Tiara action and destroy the Yoma. But that is it for this video reviewing Sailor Moon episodes 5 through 8. Remember to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe down below so you won't miss any of my videos. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, leave a comment down below. If you click over here, I will have a link to the last review video where I did episodes 1 through 4. And over here, I will put a link to the next review video once it is up, which will be in a couple of weeks because I'm doing 4 videos at a time. They're releasing 2 a week. But as soon as it is up, I will have a link there. That is all I have for you today, so I will see you later, everybody.